this Reaper power build might be the best power option for soloing any content in the game, at least for light armor classes. So in my recent tier list regarding open world builds, I mentioned that Reaper is not that good, but I was so wrong. So I want to make this redemption video for Reaper. Be sure to stick around for the whole video because I explain every intricacy that is needed to understand how this build works. As always, this build is not optimized for the maximum damage. It's more about doing everything that you can do solo so that you can survive content. It's not made for being soloed, and you also deal enough damage to complete the content that you do. You could squeeze out more damage on this build for sure, but I wanted to optimize it that it also has a really high amount of tankiness, but still has a really big amount of sustain as well. So if you get hit, you can resustain very quickly. So let's jump right in. So let's start with the gear. So for gear, for armor, you want to run full commander's gear, and also your weapons should also be full commander. For your rune, you want to run Rune of the Firework. It's just the best option. And if you want to go even deeper into the gear, you can also go with power infusions. That would be the optimized choice. For trinkets, it gets a little bit different. For back piece, you want to run one dragon's back piece, and all the other stats should be Marauder on the trinkets. The reason for that is you want to crit cap with 75%, because you can permanently get Fury, so you have 100% crit rate. Again, this is a power build, so Relic of Sakiros is really, really good on it. You have very easy 100% crit rate, and then you get 4% on every single crit that you do will heal you. So perfect. Just a really good self-sustaining option. In conjunction with the Rune of the Fireworks, you also get almost 50% wound duration. That helps you keep up perma quickness, perma might, and fury. So all the offensive wounds and almost permanent protection as well. So for weapons, you want to run Spear. Spear is just the best option for power. And then you run Sword. You can swap the main hand sword for a dagger. That would be the more aggressive version. But I think sometimes you need ranged options. And I think Sword is a really nice ranged option because it not only has some nice ranged auto attack and some nice damage, but it also has some nice wound converts and a nice jump, or 2 jumps, so to say. Leap finishers. It can be really handy if you want to reposition yourself. So I think that's just the best all-around option. And then offhand sword is really important because you get a nice fear and some nice damage. The spear has some nice lifesteal on it, and the daze, teleport, and the reset of the 2, and the 5 is also just some more might application and damage and boon removal as well. So it's really well-rounded set. It's not broken in any sense, but it's really good. You have some nice lifesteal as well. For sigils, you want to go with strength on both sets just to get even more might application. On the spear, I want to run celerity just for more quickness application. You can proc that by using your third skill, or of course also your elite. And then you have frailty on your second weapon set. The sigils are a little bit, you can swap them if you don't want those, let's say, this setup, but I would say that's the optimal for me. And let's go straight to the consumables. So for consumables and food, you want to run, of course, Potent Superior Sharpening Stones, the best option for enhancement. And for nourishment, you want to go with Cilantro's Lime Sous Steak for the 66% chance to steal life on critical hit. If you don't need that much healing, which is most often the case, I would say the minus 10% one is also very valid. But I would say I really enjoy having no problem resustaining when I get hit, and I think this is really fun to use. Just a really fun Necromancer lifesteal build. I think that fits the roleplay element quite well. Of course, the Power Ferocity is just the best option in that sense because you get the most value from it as a power build. And then let's go to the traits. So for the traits, you want to run Spite, Soul Reaping, and Reaper. There are other options there. Like I said, you could go more offensive, you could even give more defensive, maybe with that magic. But I would say this setup is just a very nice balance. And let's start with Spite. So Spite gives you Shroud Skill 1. The auto attack gives you Might. Really, really good. Then you get some Nullability. Really good. And some more Might application. Spite is just really, really powerful when it comes to self-buffing. Especially because of this trait. Because you now get less condition damage, which you don't care about, but more power damage from Might. Really, really good. And Chilling a Flow inflicts Vulnerability. Just very nice. Vulnerability increases damage output. Perfect. And then Red, when you inflict fear, you get quickness and fury. This is really, really strong because this trait allows you to upkeep 100% quickness and fury. Really, really good. And then we have Soul Reaping. Soul Reaping gives you more life force generation. The Shroud skills get recharge reduction and your maximum life force is increased. Then Shroud skill 1 inflicts vulnerability, really, really good. Then you get a passive damage buff when you enter or exit Shroud, so always try to keep that up. It's quite easy, 15 seconds, really nice. And then just baseline more crit chance and your critical hit damage is increased while in Shroud. Just really, really nice amount of damage output increase. And then we get to Reaper. Reaper gives you access to your new Shroud. It's really nice, it's melee focused, but it's really strong. Then we get some nice chill effect every 3 seconds when you crit. We crit all the time, so that happens really nice. Then chill also inflicts, fear also inflicts chill. And chill lasts longer and yeah, just more strike damage against shield foes, and you have a lot of chill applications, so that makes a lot of sense. And we get to the really nice healing part. So exactly like the Sakura's Relic, 4% of all your damage you do will heal you. And this one doesn't even have a condition, so you can just deal damage and it will heal you. Very nice. And the only condition is if you're in the range threshold, but as a melee build you should always be, otherwise you won't do damage. And just more damage is also nice. And then lastly we have Blighter's Boon. This one got buffed a while ago. That's why it's so strong, this build. Whenever you apply a boon to yourself or remove a boon from an enemy, you are healed or you get life force. It's just a strong combination. You won't have any issue generating life force with this, and you won't have any issue if you don't get one shot to heal back up just by the strong traits with Blighter's Boon, Soul Eater, your lifesteal, and of course Sakura's Relic. So you have so many options to heal, and that is increased even further with your healing skill. Just passively siphon life. If you really need a heal, you can also use it, but most of the time I would say it's not needed. You can just let it passively run. Then you have a nice stun break here. Most of the time I use it just to keep might up. Also applies some nice weakness, really good. And then you have just spam this on cooldown just for more damage and more vulnerability. It's an AoE skill. And then you have Spectral Armor for more protection. That's a big uptime, 60% uptime almost, if you just spam it off cooldown and don't get corrupted. If you don't need a protection or you have more condis to clear, you could always go for Plague Signet to send the condis back on 20-second cooldown. Really, really strong. Or if you don't need the protection or the condi cleanse, you can of course go for more power. There are so many options here. You got damage reduction. You can use also just more spam of the vulnerability so that everyone has vulnerability, but it's not good on a power build. Or you could use Spectral Walk for some nice swiftness and condi cleanses. Or even more CC, so there are many options here. And then lastly, of course, use Chill to the Bone. It's just really strong if you use it in melee range. It's a really strong CC skill. It gives you a ton of quickness. It gives you fury, might, stability. It's really overloaded, the skill, and a lot of damage as well. So always use it when you need it. Just use it off cooldown most of the time. In the Reaper Shroud, you should use your 1 skill. You should use your 2 skill if you need to reposition, but mostly the damage wise is the 1 skill better. Use your 3 skill if you need damage reduction, but most of the time use it also for the fear. So it's proccing the dread trait and gives you quickness and fury. Really good here. This 4 skill you can use, but you don't need to because the 1 skill actually does almost the same amount of damage and doesn't really, it's just better in my opinion because it gives you might and vulnerability, and this one doesn't. And lastly, you have some nice CC and also an execute. So your Reaper Shroud is really strong, and you see in the background, it's extremely strong how long you can stay in there just because of your traits, especially Blighter's Boon. You get so many life force regen procs that it doesn't really matter. You can stay in Shroud if you want almost indefinitely if you don't get enough damage. And I would swap out just to proc your Celerity Sigil on your spear. Also get some life force and get just lifesteal if you need it. And boon removal, or to reposition and fear on your sword. But most of the time I would say always try to go into Shroud in sword. Just use your sword 5 to get the fear and then go in. And if the Soul Barb's damage trait runs out, you should go out or in Shroud just to make sure that it's proccing again. Yeah, and like I said, this build is quite easy to play if you understand the concept of it. And just permanent fury, permanent quickness, and permanent might seems to be really good. And especially if you have so much lifesteal, so much tankiness, just baseline with toughness and protection. It's really fun to play, it's really strong. Be sure to give it a try, and if you want to know more about any solo builds and how they perform, be sure to check out my tier list here. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. Thanks a lot for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.